So welcome. I have this oil stone that has seen better days. I guess this is the bottom. It is missing the two side pieces, so those need to be remade. The lid looks like it's in pretty good shape. I do have one corner that has separated, so I'm going to see if I can't get that put back into place. And then the stone itself, it has some dishing on it. And other than that, the whole thing is just kind of covered in a lot of gunk. So let's get started. So the first step here is to go ahead and soak this in some mineral spirits. This is going to help to loosen up all the gunk and grime, make it easier to get clean. And so while the stone is soaking, I'm going to go ahead and turn my attention to the box. And it's the same thing, mineral spirits and some scraping and some scrubbing, just to try to get as much of all of that old residue off as I can. And so this end piece I noticed was looser than I originally thought it was, and so with just a little bit of effort that popped right off, and I'll go ahead and set that aside and glue it on later. And then in kind of scrubbing everything up, I realized that there was another repair that had been made at some time in the past, and so I'm going to try and carefully remove this side piece. It's just been nailed on. And so putty knife, and I'm able to get it, but then it breaks on me. And so it looks like I'll be remaking this part as well. Alright, so now it's on to some sanding. I wasn't planning on doing this, but as I was cleaning the box, I think I was starting to eat into the finish. It was hard to tell what was dirt that I was removing and then what was finish. So I went ahead and sanded the whole thing back down to bare wood, and then that way at least I know it is fully clean. So now for the first repair, I'm going to put that end back on, and it actually ended up both ends were loose. So those are both getting put back into place. And so I was just using my mini chisel that I make as a glue applicator. It was small enough that I could get it into those finger joints, or get all the glue into those finger joints. So now it's time to replace what's missing. And I'm using walnut for this, so I started with this block that's, mostly sapwood, but there's enough hardwood in there that I can get all of my pieces and parts out of it. And I decided to go ahead and use walnut for this instead of pine, which what the original box was made out of. And that's because I know what my level of restoration abilities are, and I knew I was never going to be able to make it look original. And so what I decided to do was just highlight the repair. So, and I don't typically do a lot of restorations. I do have a few more planned. So if you have any tips or tricks that are helpful, please leave those in the comments below. I'd love to take a look at them and see if I can't learn something new. So smoothing it up, and this is actually a hand plane that I made. There's a video on it floating around. It's a forged hand plane, a replica of a 16th century block plane. And now it comes time to start putting those missing pieces back. And I went ahead and I've cut that piece slightly oversized, so I have some wiggle room when it comes to getting everything flushed and lined up. And so I'm going to go ahead and start by gluing that end piece back on. You can see that there. And now I'm going to make this piece of plywood here is a backer. And so what I'm going to do now is use the existing finger joints to line get that lined up on the table saw, and then I can cut through the piece that I added on. And so that piece of plywood there helps kind of keep the back edge of that wood from blowing out. So now it's time to cut the other finger joint, and I'm just going to do that over on the bandsaw and then clean it up with some chisels. And looking at this original box, well, how I believe it was made originally was that all of the finger joints were kind of cut together, and then the box was split, the lid and the base of the box were split apart. And so trying to make this repair, I couldn't quite do it the way the box would have originally been made, and so you gotta kind of come up with a different solution. And I went ahead and left that bottom piece just a little bit oversized. I'll get it glued and then flushed up later. So again, mini chisels and applicator, and some shameless self-promotion. So I do make those available for sale. So now I'm just flushing up the edges of those finger joints with the box sides. Same on that one. I left that a little oversized, kind of in all dimensions. So now you can see how the box would fit back together. And it's time to start working on getting the dish out of this oil stone. And so I started over on the disc grinder, and you can see how badly that's dished. But pretty quickly I realized that this wasn't going to work. It was clogging the paper too fast. So I went over and spent a lot of time on the oil, or on my diamond stones, and that did the trick. That actually went faster than using the disc grinder. So now it's time for some finish, and this is just it's like a 1.5 pound cut of shellac. So nothing fancy. I just went to the store, bought some amber shellac, and then added some denatured alcohol to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and use that as a finish, and it'll be done rather quickly, and I'll build a few coats. And then again, more shameless self-promotion. I've been making some wax, and I'm going to go ahead and use that just for an additional, layer of protection, some shine. And now it's time to test this out. So I have a blade that I have made. It is, let's see, the back side of it, I think was flat to like 180 grit. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the stone and just see how well it's working. And it's doing pretty good. I can't complain. So that's another one in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.